Hey, I'm reloaded. You motherfuckers think you big time? Don't watch my man slop shot. You gonna die big time.
What's the worst, your man? Slop shot, your man. Right now, I got a very special guest all the way from Memphis. Can you please let the people know who you are?
I am Mr. Don Tripp.
Shit.
Yeah.
Alright, so would you still fuck Stacey Dash?
No, I'm married
You're
now.
married?
So,
I was married
yeah,
now.
yeah. I couldn't. I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
I had to knock that out. I had to serious business out the way. Thing. So, Tavia had, shout out to Tavia, she had sent me, she was like, I have Don Tripp coming, would you like? So I'm like, that's crazy, because I work overnight, and every time I scroll through TikTok, like for the past week, all I've been seeing is your videos lately.
Yeah.
The algorithm has been doing its thing with your
We've been working, and it, you know, like, it's working in our favor now. So,
what is, does writer's block ever happen?
No, actually, I don't know. I think everybody got like a different version of writer's block, and I guess the most popular version of writer's block is when they go weeks and months without being able to write something. For me, I don't know, none of my creative hiccups are long term. So I'll say like in the last what's this October, so like the last 22 months, in the last 22 months, every project that I released, I recorded it maybe 3 or 4 days before it was released. So I don't, growing up or coming up, I used to spend like every day in the studio. I used to have like, at some point I had about 100 and some songs just in the archive, or in the vault, so to speak. And what started happening was when I started gearing up to do a project, I started doing new records. And this however many records just sit there. And even when I want to reach back and grab one, to me those records are old. I now understand it to my audience, these are still new records. But I got tired of having to try to weigh it, like, does this song still stand up to this new record or whatever. So what's this? Maybe 2022, like October or November, I just made the decision to just swipe everything. I didn't delete it. I just gave up on even like stockpiling. I said from here on out, I'm gonna record, and whatever I got is what I'm gonna put out. I'm not doing the sit and try to sift through 70 records to pick 15. I'm like, I don't much enjoy that. And like I said, I used to sit in the studio all day, every day, and crank records out. Now I don't much do that. So I'll say out of 30 days, I might not turn the microphone on for about 4 of them. And the rest of those other 26 days, everything else. I'm the father and the husband.
It's a home studio?
Yeah. Right now, my wife had my son a year ago. Well, yeah, January 2023. Once she had him, the studio I was going to was too far from home. When she was, the last couple months of the pregnancy. And I ain't like the idea of having to drive an hour and 30 minutes if she says she in labor. And I felt like that was irresponsible. Even though it's my job, it's what I do, it's how we survive and how I provide. I felt like it wasn't responsible of me to be to put myself in a predicament where I could be an hour and a half behind and her water broke. So I just grabbed my equipment, I set it up in the crib, and she got used to it.
You mix everything yourself?
No, I don't do the mixing. I don't do mixing. I don't do mastering.
Engineer is very well paid.
Oh man, indeed. Look,
he better be on salary. I hope he's not working out.
That's what he told me. He said we was having a conversation about something else, and I was. As a matter of fact, we was talking about beats. He like out of the last couple projects, I've been using some of his tracks too, and up until maybe middle of last year, I didn't even know he made beats. So when I started hearing beats, and of course, he was a little hesitant to even play me beats. And when I asked him about that, it was like, he never wanted to feel like the little brother trying to drag the big brother's coattail. And I was like, man, it's family. What we doing is, and especially since it ain't like you know, I'm sending you records and you stripping them and putting your own beat behind them. Yeah. I'm like, man, you know, it don't hurt to listen, you know. And you know me well enough to know that my criticism is not you know, there's no ill intent in my criticism.
It's all constructive.
Right. Mm-hmm. So at some point, you know, we start building. He started sending me beats, and when I hit him, I'm like, you know, I'm paying everybody else for the beats. I gotta pay you.
Might as well be in house. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, you know, if I'm paying X amount of dollars to somebody I don't know, you know, it don't sit well with me to not pay you the same rate. Yeah. And you know, he was taken back. He was like, man, you know, you've been making sure I could pay my bills for the last X amount of, you know, since January 2023. And he's like, man, I don't feel right charging you X amount. And I'm like, man, you know, I get it. I appreciate that. You know, I understand the love we have for each other. But at the same token, if I'm paying X for this person I don't know, then I don't feel right paying you less or not paying you at all. And you know,
what's the name so we could plug?
Definitely Kevin Zulu. Kevin's name on Instagram is Zips. Man, I don't know them. It's some numbers. Man, hold on, you gotta forgive me. We're gonna make sure we do it right. Man, I'll tell you about Zips 1990. Yeah, Zips 1990 on Instagram. That's my guy, man. We've been rocking since like 2010. Ooh, okay. So every project I released since 2010, he's mixed. And I got another guy named Kevin Nix. And like the same thing, every project I've released since 2010, he's mastered. So, you know.
So keep the same. Okay. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. And those are two people who, you know, in this business, it's very hard to reach the level of comfortability with people you work with that y'all can be constructively.
Yeah, you can be honest.
Right. Yeah. And when you find that kind of that kind of likeliness in people, you gotta really hold on to it. That's a fact. And that's why it works so well. And they dependable. Like, you know, I got my equipment with me right now. If I send Kevin the record, both Kevins, if I send them the records,
they gonna have it back to you.
They own it. Oh, and, you know, that means everything. Especially with it being so many projects. You know, that's a task in itself to be able to keep up with. Y'all definitely. Well, that too is they well paid, and it's a camaraderie. Like we've been locked in for so long that when I sat and you know, when I made the phone call to both of them separately, but when I made the phone call, they was with it. They like, you know, we trust you. You know, let's do it.
So obviously, I first heard of you like everybody else led it to my son. Indeed. That's when, you know what I'm saying? I believe like you was like Jam of the Week or something on like MTV2 and like Double XL Freshman cover came directly after that. First of all, how old is your son now that
he's
song
15.
was thinking? Okay.
Yeah, okay. He's 15 now. He does not like that record. No. That's his least favorite record.
That's probably why y'all are eating right.
True that. That's what got me in the door. But that was something I expected, but I still wasn't prepared for the conversation. If that make any sense. So we just was in the house one day. I don't know how it came up, but it came up, and we was in the kitchen, and he's sitting at the island, the count. I don't know what you call it, but at some point, somebody said letter to my son. I looked up at him, and he was just like, and I'm like, well, we're here now. Tell me how you feel about it. And he really didn't want to say. I told him, it's a safe space. I'm genuinely asking you. And he was like, man, it's basically this record to my mama. He's like, I don't like it. And I understood. Yeah. And I explained to him that, one, I don't regret it for multiple reasons. One, my music is my life, and that's what I was going through. I didn't make that up. And for you, it paints a person that you love dearly in a negative light. But again, I didn't make it up. And like I told him, had I thought it through, of course, there's no way, at that moment, didn't know when I would see my son again.
Yeah.
So of course I didn't think 15 years later about how my son would receive this record.
How old was you when that dropped?
How old was he?
You.
It had to be 24, 25. Because I had him at 24. So I had him at 24. But the song picked up a year later. It was already on the internet. It just,
because like to that point, right? Because I also, like, besides this, I do a lot of podcasting and stuff myself. And I have 2 moms myself, right? And I do at times, like, want to let the rumors spread. You know what I'm saying? But I think, like, being that I think I had my kids, like, a little bit, like, in my late 20s and stuff like that. Yeah. I always remember, like, the internet kind of like forever. Yeah. So I don't want them to be like, well, see, their relationship that was the thing relationship. Too. Yeah.
And for me, 2009, the internet wasn't what it is right now.
Yeah.
Right then, that's how I got into this space. I started experimenting with the internet. Before I started doing that, the only rapper I could name really taking advantage of the internet was Soulja Boy. So, none of us could have told you it would live this long or expand to become what it is. And, when I made that record, like I said, I wasn't thinking about 15 years down the line.
Now that he's a teenager, you got to actually talk to him about...
And, and I sat with him and I explained to him that if I had to do it all again, I just was speaking about this a second ago, but if I had to do it all again, I would have done the same thing. I just wouldn't have called out a name in the record, and I wouldn't have actually said a name in the record. Yeah. But other than that, like I told him, I didn't fabricate any of it. I hate that was the situation. It's a whole lot better now. It's 1,000 times better now.
And that's another thing too, because you might feel away at that point, but raising the kids together,
exactly.
It might strengthen the bonds. You know what I'm saying? That you might never thought would have happened.
Right, exactly. And just like everything else in life, sometimes the hardship, the turmoil is what builds the character. True. And like I said, right now, we are on the greatest terms right now. I couldn't have foreseen it, and I wouldn't jeopardize it for nothing.
So, any chance we might get like a thing, maybe like a what you call, like, an updated part to it, like just to like
I
let people know, like,
I think that I don't know. I'm real heavy on the cringiness. And, I don't want to do nothing that feel like I'm exploiting it.
Type shit.
Yeah, and that's how I would feel. Like when I was signed, that was like the biggest ruffle in our whole situation, because every person involved in my record deal wanted me to make a lot of my son part 2. Yeah, and I was like, man, if I let y'all run the ball, we're gonna be like
15 of them.
Right, we're gonna be like R. Kelly with the
trapped in the closet.
Yeah, like, man, I'm not
doing a series about my baby mom.
Right, we on part 7 now. I'm like, no, man, I'm not doing that. I felt like it was gonna take away from the integrity of the record. I'm like, man, I'm not trying to make this be all I am. I got more
bit of baby daddy music.
Exactly. I'm like, it's more to me than that. And the example I use around this time, because it came up so many times. I can't remember homie name. I want to say Mad Skills. Well, if I'm wrong, then so be it. But I think that's who it is. It used to do them like end of the year recaps.
Yeah, skills. Yeah, Mad Skills.
Right. At some point that became all he was. He was all when you heard his name or when you heard the record, on the record you was looking for was the end of the year wrap up. Like, man, that's not what I'm in here trying to do. I got much more to say. I got much more to offer, and I'm sure he do too. But he painted himself in the corner, or when you mop the floor, you mop yourself into a corner. And now you stuck there. Ain't no way around it. And I'm like, that was the greatest thing I wanted to avoid. And had I listened to them,
you'd have been up to number 19,
right? With a mohawk.
Yeah. So, all right then. So, like, soon after that, you did get the Freshman cover.
Right.
Looking at that right there, when you made the cover, when you're doing the photo shoot, and now looking at your career today. Is it what you expected? Because I think this is probably the first time I was able to actually interview somebody that had the Freshman cover and has had longevity within rap. So is this what you expected your career to be when you got that cover?
I don't know. I didn't really have an expectation when I got when I got selected for the cover. I think part of that, I hate to, for it to be so directed for letter to my son, but part of why I couldn't enjoy most of what was going on is because, on one hand I get to be on a cover, I get to be, in these, these favorable places for any aspiring artist. But on the other hand, when you turn all the lights off, when you turn all the mics off, I can't see my, the child of the person I created, and that was heavy on me. It weighed more than anything I could imagine. Even around that time, when they went to the XXL representatives went to Hot 97, I think it is.
Yeah, that's.
And they spoke with Rosenberg and I don't remember the rest of the people that. No, it wasn't Ebro. It wasn't Ebro then.
Cypher Sound.
Yeah. I sat down with them and Hot 97 just completely bashed me. And Rosenberg was like, we've spoke since then, and he apologized. He didn't see it the way he see it now. But either way, I sat with them, and one of the things they was complaining about was, my lack of
a catalog.
No, my lack of I don't know. I wasn't ecstatic. I wasn't in a happy space, and for them, they was like, he said in the clip when he interviewing them, and he's like, he sat here and he had the personality of a dead frog. He's like, we had to burn the seats to get the personality back, and something like that. Yeah. And for him, he was just another talent came in. I was supposed to, light up like rappers do.
Be happy,
right?
Yeah.
But what they didn't know, I was on the phone in the hallway. I had to, it was an argument there. I come in and the first thing you ask me is letter to my son. I'm living it. I just had that move. And I ain't never been one to be able. Faking ain't never been my strong suit, so I couldn't. I sat down and I'm trying to do my job, and first thing you ask me about is my life. So no, I wasn't giggling, and I wasn't chit-chatting in here, and from that, that whole time period, that's the undertone. I really was dealing with it.
Yeah, okay.
But when I did the XXL, shortly after, the other people on the cover started popping, and I was asked by people around me used to ask me how I felt about it. These people start soaring in their careers, and I'm like, I never really measured my success against somebody else's. And I'm like, for all I know, every one of them assigned to bad record deals. Every one of them paid to be here, or maybe they are on cloud nine and they earned it and they deserve it. It is what it is. I don't care
when it comes. Yeah.
Right, but that don't cash a check for me. I gotta go get what I gotta go get. So I never really gauged it like that, and to look back at it now and see that I'm still running, and some of those names are still running, but most of those names aren't still running. And I think that was the reassurance that I was on the right path.
It was a marathon,
right?
Not a sprint. Yeah.
Well, I won't even say that. I'll just say that sometimes the time you get is limited. Sometimes you can you create longevity, but sometimes the time you get is limited, and it's about when it happens. And it was happening for them, it just wasn't happening for me. And vice versa. Now it's happening for me, and for some of them it's not happening. But for some of them, it's been happening the whole time. So, that goes back to, like I said, that's why I don't weigh it. I don't, I'm not trying to compare what I got going on to what you got going on. Like you said, you got 2 baby mamas, and I got 3, and a wife. So, our amount of drama is a little bit different. But again, that's what I'm saying, so I don't I never really weigh it. I think if anything, I think it was the greatest stepping stone. I think that it opened some doors for me. And well, the whole just dealing with XXL period, it gave me some great relationships and some great insight. I think that helped me build.
I got you. All right, so from there, I think it was a gap for me. I'm to be honest, until Until Step Brothers. I
Yeah.
think Step Brothers is when it was like, yo, ain't that something that happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it. That's where they at. And I'm like, he's in a group now. You understand what I'm saying? And then that was the introduction to me to Starlito.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of Starlito before then, but I already knew about you from the XXL.
Yeah.
How did that even come? How did that even come together?
Man, he was at home. He was in Nashville. That was my first time in Nashville, actually. I was on the road with Yo Gotti. And I can't remember why we stopped in Nashville, but Gotti had something to do outside of what we was doing. So he went to do what he was doing, and me, Zedzilla, and YG, he ain't YG now. He Big Homie G now. But me, Zedzilla, and Big Homie G, we went to Lito's studio. One of his homeboys was buying a verse from Zed, and at some point through this, I don't know when it occurred or how it occurred, and that was my first time meeting Star, and somehow he talked to his homeboy into buying a verse from me, and just that act alone kind of changed how I looked. Now, before then, I didn't know him. I only, I knew his music, but I didn't know him. So my assumption or my
was he big in Tennessee at that time?
Yeah, he was definitely bigger than me. But my perception of Lito was he just just like every other rapper I've met. He in rapper mode. It's all about you because you're the rapper. And so when they came down and told me that his homie wanted the verse, I'm like, okay, that's that was random. I didn't know that was happening. It was unexpected. So when I went up and knocked the verse out, and we was there for a minute, and man, Star just started rapping, and I don't know, some clicked at some point. We was doing before we started on the Step Brothers. I think we was working on like Red Dots mixtape or something. I can't really remember. My memory is the worst, but we was working on something, and he kind of just saying the way I work, and like I said, I don't spend all day in the studio no more. So I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but whatever we did was I work fast.
You knocked it out, yeah.
Right, and from that, I want to say early on, maybe our first session may have been like might have been like a challenge to each other, and then after that, I think we both kind of saw the value in us working together versus working against each other.
Put egos aside and be like, yo, we could.
Well, that's because we really never had that ego moment. Like we never really clashed. We started working on records again. We weren't on Step Brother records yet. But I can't really remember whose record we was working on. But either way, I dropped my verse, and he was like, oh, okay, he really with it. He dropped his verse, and we're like, okay, all right. And from that, after maybe one or two songs, you just, it was a light bulb popped on both of us, and we could get along. If we didn't come up with that idea to do Step Brothers for maybe another, man, I want to say we was literally around each other for maybe a month or two before we reached the idea of to do a Step Brother, right? To do the collab tape, but we just gelled. It just worked. Like me and Star, I've known Star since probably 2010. Again, my memory's nothing, but me and Star have never had a falling out. Well, of course we disagree, but that's the thing about it. That's how you can tell if your friendship is a friendship. If you can disagree. And we can disagree, we can bump heads, and we never clash. Never turn into, we don't wind up angry with each other. Turn into anything other than us agreeing to disagree. You see it this way, I see it that way.
So there's still a possibility of more Step Brothers.
Oh, it's always going to be. It's always going to be a possibility of more. So we're working to get Step Brothers folk grounded now.
Okay.
But we just not in a rush. We both feel like the integrity is the most important part of it. And all the way up until now, we didn't rush any of the music we've done. And to go in and rush it now just because, people asking for it, that we feel we don't want to force it, and at this stage in our lives, none of what we do is forced anyway, so it don't really make sense to force this. Start now.
So dedication to the fallen. I think your first.
It's called Revenge of the Fallen.
Revenge of the Fallen. Revenge of the Fallen. The first song was dedicated to Dolph.
Yeah, well, it was dedicated to Dolph, my brother, and a few other people. I just didn't want to go and do the name game. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, it definitely was dedicated to Dolph.
Both from Memphis.
Yeah.
What was that relationship?
Man, Dolph was pretty close. I don't know what year I met Dolph, but the way I met Dolph.
I said you bad with years.
Oh yeah, I'm terrible, terrible. But I was in the studio. Me and my DJ, Lil Larry, everybody changed their names. DJ Larry Live is what he go by now. I was in the studio with him, and he had the idea of let's do this record with Young Dolph. And I had never heard of Dolph, but I just trusted Lil Larry. So I'm like, all right, I'm with it. I don't know who that is, but let's do it. And Dolph came in to do the record, and same thing. I don't know, we could get along, and I don't know. It maybe come up with going through things in life, but when I meet people that I can get along with, and we share the same passion, I guess I tend to hold on to those people.
The music industry will make you do that because it's rare that you'll find somebody that you genuinely click with.
It's a funny business.
Yeah.
But same thing though. We did that one record, and we just was talking, and that one talk turned into next time I seen him, we spoke for a minute, and it might have happened a couple times, and before you knew it, we just was rocking. We spent more time outside of the studio than in the studio, and for me that means so much. And right then, Dolph was he was an aspiring artist. Even nobody in the city had really heard of Dolph, and then man, I don't know what pill he took, but he just skyrocketed, and I was so happy to see it. And I started seeing that like during the time he was blowing up. People, of course, you got social media. So people would hit me, and I seen, I don't know which platform that was, but somebody was like, they was basically saying that there's turmoil. The reason you don't hear Dolph and Trip records no more, because we had a lot of records. And at one point we was about to do a mixtape, and then, man, within that month while we was building it, his name shot up. And when he started popping, like we sat down and we had a conversation. And I told him, the last thing I want to do is hold you back. And the fire you got right now, you got it, and as a solo artist, you don't need to attach yourself to me. Then I felt like that was gonna slow the burn down. You getting it, and right now you're standing alone. You don't look like I'm co-signing you or vice versa, or anything of the sort. So I was proud to see him pop. And like I said, I seen on the internet they were saying we ain't had no records together because we fell out, and which was funny to me. It was funny to him, and I was like, that just showed that a lot of people's perception is their reality, and what they didn't know, it was talking all the time. We was together, we just weren't recording songs, and in most cases, that's how I know a relationship is genuine. It ain't based in the studio. We don't only rap when we rapping. If that was the thing, then we just rap partners, and that ain't what it was. It's much deeper than that.
Do you regret not actually getting the project done?
No, I got no regrets. I think if anything, that that was a tool too. That I think that helped both of us grow into the spaces, and if anything, I value it. Just being able to spend so much time with them in the studio, like I said, spend a lot of time out, and me and Dolph work two totally different ways. So to be able to, experience it and embrace it, I think, that's something far too valuable for me to regret. I don't know what you.
I think it's all right. But I do want to get to the get to the music. Obviously, we had Friends of the Fallen, and we're working on a monthly basis. What is the name of the next project for November?
The next tape is called Yours Truly.
Mm-hmm.
I almost didn't know. Well, actually, that's for October. I don't know what November is yet. You got me. It's tricky. I kind of just let it flow. I try not to. I try not to overplan. In life, you really, the more you plan, the more it goes against the plan.
Yeah.
So I kind of just let it happen how it happened. So it could be one thing a day, and then once we start recording, then the vibe pick where it's going, and the vibe picks what its name. Yeah.
All right, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, indeed.
Mixtape. I've been like, this is one hell of a shit. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to you digest all of this as a fan. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm
you kind of got to look at it like a Netflix series. When Netflix put the series out, they put all the episodes out,
and you binge it on your time.
Right. Now some people try to digest the whole thing in a day, and then you sleep as hell tomorrow when you supposed you gotta go to work. I ain't asking you to do that. I'm asking you to get to it when you get to it. Because hopefully, out of all the projects, something resonates, and that's what you live with. And, I'm not making records for a certain time period. So, if you like the tape from, November of last year, and that's the one that's been sticking with you, keep rocking. And, if you hear, as you keep going, if you hear something that stick with you like that, which I hope so, but, if you do, then that's terrific. If you don't, at least you got, something stuck. Something was relatable for you.
Yeah, I mean, Step Brothers is something I'm gonna play forever. Step Brothers 3. So yeah, but I'm rocking with this Revenge of the Fallen. Take About's my joint, man. But let the people know how they can get in touch with you, how they can download everything, man.
Oh man, look, getting in touch with me is tricky because that means something different to different people. So don't be DMing me thinking I'm gonna respond to you. But if you're looking for me, you can find me on all the social medias at Mr. Don Trip, and TikTok is something different. I don't know what TikTok. I don't even see
it's gonna
my
power
TikTok guy in here, but I don't know what my name is on there. But other than that, you
TikTok
can Google
gonna find
me.
you because it found me. Like I told you, it found me.
It's working. So
he's gonna build your For You page.
So
man.
if I ain't there yet, we on the way.
Exactly, man.
Indeed, I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Indeed.
All right.
Okay, I'm reloaded.